Everyone relax. I'm Charlie Clausen. Well, everyone relax. This is TOFOP. I'm Charlie Clausen. I forgot what was going on. It's episode 3 in our bulk record, and
It's okay. We're only about halfway through everything we've got to do.
We've
today,
still got more to
this
do.
is, everyone relax. This is TOFOP.
Everyone relax. This is TOFOP. I'm
He's Charlie Clausen.
and I'm Wil Anderson.
No.
Everyone relax. This is TOFOP. I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Wil Anderson. Hello, and thank you for watching.
Yes, we are back. Will has prepped something
A game.
for this episode.
I mentioned this a few weeks ago.
You did.
And it was a game
Last week, in fact. It feels like a few weeks ago. It was literally 7 days ago.
No, that's not true.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
No, it was. It was last week when we were recording. You said, I've got this thing. Should we do it this episode? We never got round to it. Is that right, Mark?
6 weeks ago, Charlie.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
6 weeks ago.
Is that right?
Yeah. So I raised it on the podcast. We spoke about it on the podcast. Then what you're confusing it with is last week when I came in and I said, remember that thing we spoke about on the podcast? I brought in the game if we want to play it.
Oh, my God.
That was last week, but not last week for the listeners, because last week we were recording last month's shows and this week we're recording this month's shows. So, I mean, it's probably...
I feel like I've just woken up in a J.J. Abrams show and it's like, but Charlie, you've been here the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Everyone relax, TOFOP. Charlie, Clausen, Will.
No.
So
Okay, I apologize.
We're not going to play the entire game here
Right.
because there are levels to the game. But I just thought there was an aspect of this game that might be fun for us to play because it's called We're Not Really Strangers. So it's the sort of
Okay.
game you
Mike, can you cue up Triple H's theme, Time to Play the Game by Motorhead? I think that seems appropriate. Time to play the game.
Okay, so we can do that.
Yeah.
We can absolutely have that as the theme. So basically, there are levels of these cards. You play them, with a group of friends or with just another friend about your relationship,
Okay.
Anyway,
So it's about us.
yeah, but it'll be about who, yes.
Yeah, how well we know each other?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I like
And so
it.
it's either a getting to know you game or a maybe you don't know something about the person that you do know well sort of game.
Yeah.
It gets progressively harder. There's some game elements that we just don't need to play. I just thought for us,
Yeah.
it would be more interesting just to use some of these cards and questions
As prompts.
for us to maybe go to some areas that we either do know about each other from the years of knowing each other, or maybe there might be some blind spots where we don't.
Okay, if you had to guess
Mm-hmm.
who knows more about the other person,
Ooh,
what would you say?
interesting.
I would say, I think
What do you say?
I know less about you
Uh-huh.
than you know about me. I think I know certain front-facing things about you that probably you've told a lot of people, but I think you're a lot more guarded on stuff,
Interesting.
whereas I feel like I'm a bit more of an open book. Like a lot of this show is me coming in and telling you about something that I've done wrong or things I worry about or fucked up, and you analysing it. Sometimes it feels like an episode of TOFOP, other times it's a therapy session. So I don't know a lot about my therapist. I don't know a lot about her personal life.
Well, I guess this is the whole point, is that with these prompts, who knows?
Okay,
Because
we'll find out. Wouldn't it be
we will
interesting
find out.
if it turns
it
out
might be absolutely the other way
opposite?
around.
Okay, Mike, have you got that? Have you got our theme
Is it
music?
time to play?
Yep.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Lovely fade out, Mike. Well done.
All right. This is a pretty simple one for a start.
Okay.
This will get us in the zone.
Okay.
What do you think my go-to karaoke song is?
I think it's a rap song.
Oh, yeah.
Would that
interesting.
be?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't really know what the answer to this question is either. But it's more that if you were going to see me at karaoke,
Yeah, I think you know. I don't think you view as a singer,
uh-huh.
so I think it
No.
would probably be hip hop. You love hip hop. I think you probably know all the words to a hip hop song. It
Yep.
sort of more fits in your skill set. So,
By the way, while you've been answering this,
Hmm.
I have actually come up with an absolute answer of what it would be in my head. So
Okay.
there is a correct answer to this, and I think if you keep thinking about it, and what else you might want to achieve on a karaoke night, like in your performance,
Hmm.
or flaws that I might want to hide.
Right.
Like, because not being a naturally...
So speak singing.
Yeah, or at least, yes.
Oh,
your rap's
we
right.
didn't start the fire?
Oh,
Is that what it is?
no.
Okay.
But that's good. That's
All right.
a good
Okay.
guess.
Um,
No, rap. You're right
Rap?
you're right in rap.
okay.
But think about like what element, like what sort of rap style performance might I want to like do at karaoke? Do you
A
think?
rap style performance. Okay.
Yeah.
So, would it be?
I just mean tonally.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to do like
You're not going to try and be
NWA
cool
straight out of
or
Compton
no,
or something like that. Or,
But I'm thinking something like, I mean, there's so many problematic rap songs that if you were to
Charlie,
do the lyrics,
I have had to. Oh well, I mean, yes, you're right
Yeah.
because a lot of them are by like
you're
black
not
artists.
dropping like
I can't-
me and my N words are hanging out. Like,
no. Did you see the footage of that kid rapping with Ice Cube at the Sydney Myer Music Bowl? Ice Cube gets a 8-year-old up on stage. Now, I don't know this kid's background. I know the kid was 8.
Mm.
And I know that he was like, this will be great.
No Vaseline?
I'm going to get the kid. I'm going to get the kid to do Straight Outta Compton.
Oh, no way.
Like, and this kid knows Straight Outta Compton word perfect, which is great for an 8-year-old kid to be doing Straight Outta Compton word perfect. But when I was watching the video, Charlie, it really looked like that 8-year-old kid dropped some hard ends when they were rapping the song. And
GGAs or GGERs is the
I mean,
big
I don't
difference.
know the background of this kid either and whether the kid has the right to be... I don't know if an 8-year-old understands the complexities of what those words mean in a cultural sense. But I feel like Cube didn't shut it down. Cube was into it.
Yeah,
So
I guess
I feel like...
there's some permission
Yeah,
there.
for whatever it was like...
And Cube, who famously put up
Yeah.
Bill Maher,
Yeah.
because Bill Maher, as a joke, described himself as a house N-word, and Ice Cube was like, that's not cool.
No.
You can't describe
You
yourself.
can't do that.
Especially you, Mr. Middle-aged, waspy white man. Can't.
Yeah.
But then if Cube says to this kid, okay, I mean, there's a permission structure there. We can allow it.
Yeah, I think so.
I still will feel very uncomfortable.
I mean, I do too. And I only saw this clip once and I may be misremembering all of this.
Okay.
But anyway.
Okay, so it won't be that.
Yes.
I mean, I guess the obvious one would be Eminem, because you could probably get away with an Eminem.
You're right in thinking, yes, a white rapper does make sense.
House of Pain, Jump Around.
Oh, good suggestion, actually. I'll put that on my list if they didn't have this one that I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay. So definitely, so it's a white,
Yes.
Vanilla Ice.
Vanilla Ice.
Yeah, Ice Baby. Yeah,
Because
cool.
it's a
That
bit
makes sense. And
comedic
it's
as
funny.
well, right?
That's right.
That's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I was talking about, the other elements. If you're going to make up from, like, I'm not a good singer, I don't have that musicality, so you make up with a little bit of like, oh, this is funny
Yeah.
that he's doing Ice Baby. I
Okay.
think.
All right.
Now for you,
Yes.
then in reverse.
Well, in the same, okay, I think in the
Yeah.
same, for the same performance aspects, I think
Yeah.
that
okay,
they check out. So it's something a little ironic and funny.
yeah.
But I would say like it's an enthusiastic performance. Do you want a clue?
Are we talking like 80s 90s hair metal?
No, it's not metal.
No.
It's a fun 80s song that's related to a film.
Okay.
In fact, you'd say it was yeah.
Okay, so is it like from Top Gun or something like
In
that?
the in the
that
right
sort of
in the right zone.
Highway to the Danger Zone. No.
Funner.
More fun.
More
Kokomo.
no, faster, more upbeat.
Okay.
It's about
Footloose.
Correct.
Yes,
Footloose.
all right, not
I can
bad.
nail a Footloose. I
Yeah.
learned that very early on in karaoke. It's like it's the one song that I can.
Yeah.
It's in my register. I can actually sing it.
Yeah, it sounds like a song that's doing a lot more dynamic singing than it actually is because
Yeah.
the music does a lot of dynamic stuff. You got that ding and ding and like that guitar and stuff, but the actual song itself, the vocal,
Yeah.
not bad.
And the thing is, when you're really in the zone, you can start freestyling because it's all rhyming names with
Yeah.
like Jack, get back. And so if you're quick enough, you can
Oh, yeah.
start like making dirty versions
Yes.
of that. You know?
Yes.
Janus.
You got to have someone called Janus there. Always.
Yeah.
Is Janus coming?
Yeah.
If anyone's
Dolores.
If anyone's organising karaoke,
Yeah.
you're like, now we're inviting.
I've got my mate Runt who's here.
Rock Dead's coming, right?
Yeah. Dother Trucker is here. Johan Dother Trucker.
Okay, all right, good. Well,
All right,
that,
good
that was
start.
that was a good start. There
Yeah.
we go. This is good. This is good stuff. All right. Okay, so this is a question where you're going to answer about me, but then I'll answer about you.
Okay.
Do you think I've ever checked an ex's phone for evidence?
No.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah. You're I think you're like Batman, you have a code you live by.
Yes.
And I think that is something that
So
you
it's
would.
their phone. It's none of my business what's on their
Yes.
phone.
Yes. Now what you say about me.
Yeah.
So what was the question? An ex's phone?
An ex's phone. Well, you and Gemma have been together so long that I
Yeah.
think that like phones have mostly been.
Yeah.
The time of. I'm going to rule this. I'm going to say no because you were never in a situation in which you've had to
an
do
ex.
it. Yeah. During the time of phones.
I mean, it's pretty much like
Right?
before Gemma, I only had
Yeah.
like a couple of very short, long-term relationships.
Yeah.
But no, I never checked an ex's phone. And Gemma and I, we know each other's passwords.
Yeah.
We share like it's not uncommon that we need to access each other's phones
Of
or
course,
stuff all the
yes.
time. And so like there's no.
It's all shared.
It's all shared. Like we
Yeah.
don't. In fact, I would feel strange if Gem, like suddenly was like, oh, I can give you I'll have to log in and then you can go here. Like, then I'm
Yeah.
suspicious.
No, I know I mean, I've known codes or no codes or whatever, but I'm not using them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember the most guilty the worst thing I've ever done, the most guilty I've ever felt was when I was like 19 or 20. Me and my friends, there's about 3 of us backpacking around Thailand, and one of my girlfriends, there's a guy and a girl from uni, and she was keeping a journal, and she was out one day, and I thought as a joke, oh, let's read the last chapter of her journal, and I felt terrible about it. Like the stuff that she wrote down that I read out aloud, I was like, that is a huge betrayal of trust, and I feel dirty and terrible. What was meant to, I thought would be funny, was just like, oh, this is awful. Like I felt very guilty about that, and so I probably would never go back on that because of that one experience.
I was once at an.
Even my mate who I was reading it out to was like, this isn't cool, and I was like, yeah, you're right.
I think the only time that I've done something like that as well is like I was in an internet cafe, like so this is back in the day, and the person like before me who'd been using the computer was someone who I was traveling with, and I noticed when I got on the computer like there was still open a thing, and I saw my own name, and I was like,
I better read this.
I better read that. And I was like, I felt bad, but you just can't once you
pop, you can't stop.
I think these days actually I would. I think I've got very good now at just going. I'm not curious. I don't need to know. I don't like. I think I'd be absolutely fine to not read that now.
I think you've got to be all or nothing in that because it's that kind of same analogy people use about like sexual predilections, which is like, I don't want to know that this thing gets me off. Like, I don't want to know that I actually have privacy issues, that I can't stop being a voyeur. Like, I'd rather just deny all access rather than find out that I've got this really fucking dark side to myself.
Not to kink shame, like because that's not the purpose of this. But one of the things that comes up a lot in my improvised shows is like if an emergency nurse or an operating nurse is in the theatre. Often, when you're talking to them about the funniest things that have happened, it ends up being a conversation about people who've come in to the surgery with particular things up their bum. And it's very interesting from state to state what those things are. Like it does genuinely. And
pineapples in Queensland, coffee in Melbourne.
It would be amazing if that's what it was. The other night I was in Canberra, and this is a true story. So, a jar of Vegemite, and then a Granny Smith apple.
Oh.
Yeah. So 2 things, which is like amazing.
Oh, as in the one bum.
The one bum.
Okay.
Right. So cost of living. You have to get them to the checkout. No, it's so not the mini Vegemite, not the big family size. The just kind of like the regular in between butt plug sort kind of sized one. And then a Granny Smith apple.
Okay.
Like, isn't that like that's interesting, isn't it? Like,
I guess because I can sort of see
what do
it
you
being
think?
kind
What
of
do you think?
phallically. I mean, if the apple went in first, followed by the
the
jar.
apple didn't go in first.
Oh,
the
so
jar.
now I'm confused.
Yeah, right. So what happens? Like after you've put a jar of Vegemite up there, what makes you think?
You know what'll feel even better?
Yeah.
An apple.
Yeah. I need to go to hospital, but I know one thing that keeps the doctor away.
Without getting too graphic, I imagine that maybe I'm assuming the Granny
Yeah.
Smith is wider than the jar of Vegemite. So maybe the jar goes up. I'm like, well, that was good. That was about an 8.
Oh,
This could be a 10.
yeah, okay.
And then it's like, oh shit.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh no! I assumed it was a cover story. So if you go in with the Vegemite, then that's like, I mean, everyone knows what's been happening. But if you go in with like those two, it's so confusing that
You think of the doctor's like, I don't know what's going on here.
I was making breakfast and I slipped. You know. All right. Okay. Do I seem like someone? Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna go with this one again because it's quite a long one.
Okay.
This
Bet
one,
you're busting out the glasses.
this one feels like the sort of thing you probably might ask someone you don't know.
I feel like I should put on my glasses now because you just put yours on.
You don't know as well as you know me, because I think, but it'll be interesting. I think
Okay.
regardless. Do I seem like someone who would get a name tattooed on myself? Why or why not?
Gee, that's a really. I mean, I could see both sides.
Okay. So
I don't-
what's your reasoning?
Okay. I think that you are someone who, because I find that you're a very loyal person, and that you are you're a committed person, and so I imagine if it was either like a partner or a grandparent or someone who meant something a lot to you, that you would get that done as a way to commemorate. You've got tattoos, or you got a tattoo at least. So I don't think you're against it, but at the same time, if you never got another tattoo, that wouldn't surprise me either. The name thing is interesting because it comes down to your personal connection to. Most people get names of like loved ones, family members, or partners, or whatever. Like if you got a name of like, I don't know, like if you got like Doechii, I really love that album. I'll be like, that is unusual. I mean, I knew that
I think
you
it's
like,
bold in this day and age to get any celebrity.
yeah,
like
with
their
cancel
name.
culture.
Yeah, just with what we know.
I
mean,
really regret that
you
Kevin
really-
Spacey tattoo.
I mean, if you locked in a Black Eyed Peas tattoo, like after the first 2 albums,
Yeah.
it's, I guess.
But does anyone have? I mean, I think most people when they get celebs, they normally get like a visage, like a
Yes.
Marilyn Monroe or a Kurt Cobain or whatever it is. It's very rare that you get a name unless it's like a loved one. I mean, I've got an Iona
Yes.
tattoo on me, and that was like the first time she wrote her own name and did a portrait of me. So I thought it was adorable. But I think no. I think also maybe when you were younger, I think maybe once you sort of cross 50, unless a significant life event happens where you really feel the need to kind of like have some kind of reminder. But you've never really struck me as a person. It's not like you have multiple tattoos. Some people like get tattoos to commemorate a stage in
Yes.
life or something they've been through or whatever, or to create some individuality for themselves. This is something that belongs to me. But I think that you are becoming less inclined to do that the older you get.
I think you are correct, by the way. Well reasoned. I liked all that because I'm open to the idea, but I think I am less inclined. Like all my tattoo ideas, I am less inclined as I get older to implement them. But there is just one proviso that I would like to keep up my sleeve, which is if there is a memento situation in which
You've got like
I've got
dementia
some
or
like I
something.
don't have to remember
right.
really important details.
Yeah.
Then like if I have to have a tattoo as like Charlie.
Yeah, we're Studio One, Sunday, 10 a.m.
Can I share something? One time I was working at home, I was so stressed and I couldn't find any paper to write down a list of notes of stuff I had to do. So in a Sharpie pen, I had a Sharpie pen. On my desk at home, I wrote down Wil ×2 for editing Philosophy episodes, TOFOP video, and it's still there. It's a list of to-do from 2 years ago.
Mike, how
Yeah.
much money would it take for you to get those tattooed on your body?
To do tattoos. That's the scenario in which I imagine. So I've got some sort of like, memento style like reset of my memory every day, where I wake up and I need all these things explained to me. But you and Mike have decided to keep the cash cow of the podcast alive, and so once a month I come in, we bank a
We
whole
wheel
bunch of
you in.
shows. Right?
I will.
But then you have to tattoo
Yeah.
all over me
Yeah.
references
What are you talking about?
to like
The Rock.
Yeah.
Adam Sandler. That's right, Will. Just like, because cognitively not there, but just occasionally looks down and yells out a pop culture
Russell
reference.
Crowe!
Yeah. That's right, Will. Just feeding you applesauce. Oh, it's horrifying.
All
Okay.
right. Okay. All right, here we go. What do you think? Well, I might answer yours first. So
Okay.
the question is, what do you think I'm most likely to splurge on?
Yeah.
So, what are you most likely to splurge on? That's interesting. I'm gonna what would I guess that you are most likely to splurge on? Because you're not you're
I'm
pretty.
not a splurger.
You're not a splurger. You're quite financially responsible. And yeah, even
I'm trying to think of what I splurge on.
Yeah,
I'm
I
really
can- I can-
struggling to think
well,
of
that's
it.
what I would firstly say is
Yeah.
you don't strike me as a splurger. I can't even remember in the whole time I've known you where I've ever seen you go on a
Ooh.
reckless spending spree.
No.
You're not even like a real sort of that night where you shouted everyone a big. I don't
Of course,
mean
definitely not.
No, but I mean
Yeah.
and I don't mean that in a. But we have friends. We work amongst people who've at different stages, been going better than everybody else, and they're just like, I'll get dinner
Yeah.
tonight or whatever it might be, But that's not kind of the way that you've lived your life.
I have a very working class Catholic
Yes.
attitude to money, which is
Yeah.
that you don't spend it.
Yeah, you grew up in a house where there was 25 children.
Well, it's
one of
incredibly
the lessons was
Like, it's incredibly
don't
frustrating
splurge.
to Gemma like that because
Yeah.
I hate spending. Like, I will reuse stuff. I'll try and fix things.
Yeah.
Right, and keep using them until they're absolutely beyond. Like, and she's like, we can literally just go buy another one for the amount of money you're going to spend on going to Bunnings to get the new whatever. Let's just chuck it out. I'm like, no. We can fix this. We live in a disposable culture and blah, blah, blah. I can think of, I do have occasional, I would say it's, and this might be a clue for you, every 3 years I do a splurge.
Every 3 years you do a splurge.
Mm.
Oh,
And this would be probably
election corflute.
this would probably be modest to most people, but in context to me,
Okay.
that's what I splurge on.
Every 3 years.
Roughly.
Is it like a clothing thing?
It's exactly a clothing
Yeah.
thing, yeah. So every 3 years, I will wear a wardrobe to death,
Yeah, and then
go
go
just
in
chuck
and
it
just
out.
go, this is my whole new
and now
thing.
I'm
Yeah,
Muji.
yeah.
So that's what, my last splurge was last year. So in about 2 years' time, watch out.
Yeah.
I'll be coming in with a whole new wardrobe. But yeah, I'm not really, I feel every time I get money, in the way our industry operates is you generally go large periods without having an income and then you'll get a lump sum. And so what I generally do with that lump sum is put it to the mortgage or put it into savings or whatever. And then my idea is always rainy day, there'll be a need. Or Gemma will look at what I'm wearing and go, I think the last splurge was because Gemma we had a photo album made up for Iona's first 3 years. And Gemma was looking at year one of Iona's life and my wardrobe and then was looking at me on the couch and going, you're wearing exactly the same clothes.
Seeing
can you please
Iona
buy
grow up, but you disintegrate?
yeah. Please buy a new fucking t-shirt. I'm like, okay. But yeah, I'm not really, splurging for you. I think you are, your splurging, I think, was you would work all year round and then you would treat yourself to a holiday, meals, sort of like the fine living kind of things. You'd go you'd save up and do a big trip or you'd book a holiday house somewhere or good food, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I don't do them as often as I would like to for someone who enjoys that sort of thing to do. There was a point in my life where maybe I got to do that once a year or at least once every 18 months. I feel like unfortunately, in the last, while it's become. But yes, I do like that. That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
Because I think you have like, I know that you buy books and you buy
I
like,
buy more books than I buy more
accessories
books than I
and-
will ever.
but they're not splurging. That's more like a regular.
I know.
I think
It's
splurge.
like splurge feels more. What a word!
What a
by
word!
The way.
I was just thinking
Splurge.
about it. I'm trying to think if like
Sounds like vaguely
Do you know-
sexual, but not like it sounds like awful. If someone like a splurge,
maybe a better discussion because I'm just trying to think of
yeah.
anyone I know who does splurge. Like, because I think about Gemma. Like Gemma, she doesn't really splurge, but she will. She loves clothes, and so she often buy. But it's like she and her clothes are like you and books. She likes to update her wardrobe. She doesn't really throw stuff out. She just keeps expanding. But she doesn't really. I think when Gemma splurges, it'll be like a holiday or something. She will normally work really hard and then go, my reward for this will be, let's go on holiday somewhere and we'll stay in a nice hotel and blah, blah, blah. It's a bit like what I was saying about you. But even then, it's not what I think of when I think of splurge. I think of almost like reckless spending.
Yeah, that's right.
Like let's go to Vegas. and
or let's
fucking-
just buy something we don't need or that we
Yeah.
haven't thought about, or just like, I mean, that idea of, because I've never been a gambler,
No.
like, because I really, I guess I probably would be more successful financially if I had more of a sense of like playing the stock market
Risking
or like, doing, but it's just, I've never been comfortable with, I'm like, it actually is quite hard to earn money in the career that we have chosen to try and earn money in. And I've never thought, you know what? I'm so confident that I will forever be able to earn money by telling dick jokes to strangers that I should gamble a little bit recklessly on something.
Okay, just say you got into that sort of like, money's no object anymore.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it. You've got plenty. What do you think if you had it like limitless funds? What would you splurge on?
Yeah, I've got like, I mean, and this is I'm so sad. This is like, but this is 100% true. I know it to be true now. Is I'd love a theatre.
Oh yeah,
I over my life, I've often thought that, but just going back to playing these smaller spaces, being able to do more creative shows. I'm really fascinated at the moment by. There was a comedian who I wish I could remember his name right now, but Mike, you might be able to look it up. He did a special. It was about Kendrick Lamar and America, and it came out. It was about the Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl performance at halftime, and it's called Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl is America or something like that. And it came out as a YouTube special, like maybe 2 or 3 weeks after. So he wrote this whole. I mean, some of it feels like pre-existing stuff about race in America and etc. that he already had. But Mike,
Andrew Schultz.
no, not Andrew Schultz. No, that he's the guy who was in the fight with Kendrick. This guy's like a It's a like a YouTube comedy special. Anyway, I can find the details, but just that idea of if you had your own space, like if you just had like a theater with like a setup of cameras and whatever, where you could just go, hey, do you know what I want to do this week?
yeah.
I want to like get an audience in and we're going to film this thing or we'll make this thing or we'll shoot this thing, like just to have.
It's like Smodcastle or
Yeah. But to have unlimited resources, because the problem with that is I could do that now, but I would have to
maintain it.
become a business
Yeah.
and like learn how to employ people and like
It's a
all
pain
those
in the
things that I
ass.
don't want to do.
Yeah.
Like you need unlimited funds or, a huge amount of money, a splurgeable amount of money
Yeah.
to just go, I can run this as an indulgence, not as a business.
Well, it's like we talked a few weeks ago about the South Park guys bought that restaurant, that Mexican restaurant, and that was splurge because it was like it's all based on nostalgia and fondness for this place growing up, and then it very quickly became, oh fuck, like in order for us to not be hemorrhaging money, we have to now shift our. It was meant to be just splurge. Now it's, oh, we actually have to work at this, and this sucks. Like this is not what we signed up for.
Is there anything that you remember doing as a kid that you loved so much that if given South Park style money, you would go back and
Or like
do
buy
a similar
Luna Park
thing?
or something? Yeah. I mean, I'm in that real phase at the moment where like, because we live in this nostalgia kind of space at the moment where I'm often seeing things of like toys I had as a kid or books. Like I have such a clear memory of this one children's book that I used to read as a kid that I loved, called The Summer Snowman, and it's from like the 1950s or something like that, and because I'm reading to Iona at the moment, it's like, it wouldn't be great to find that book and read it to Iona. And I went on eBay and like they go for like $600-700
Yeah, right.
at the moment. And I was like, oh, if I was to restock my entire childhood, like all those key toys, like that's thousands of dollars because they're out of print. They don't make them anymore. The technology doesn't exist. They're very rare. So I guess that would probably be a splurgy kind of thing. Like, because I often look at collectibles. And there would have been a time in my life when I was collecting comics and stuff that I would have found that really kind of interesting. Now I look at collectibles and go, well, what am I going to do with all this shit? Like, where would I put it? I'm not going to play with it. Like, what am I going to do with it? But if you're talking, infinite resources, well, I'll just I'll do what Jay Leno does. I'll just start buying, like I'd buy cool cars. Like I'd love to get like a Tirana, like SL 5000, Mustang. There's a bunch of like cool cars that I just love the look of that I would just put in a shed somewhere. So I could see myself doing that, splurging on like cars and collectibles and artwork and things just to look at, not necessarily practical stuff, but just things that aesthetically please me or bring back kind of happy memories.
Yeah, I think I would almost be the opposite these days in that I think what I would love, so this is what I'm really imagining this now, I'm leading into this, which is the theatre is also where I live.
You Kermit the Frog? Is this what's going on?
Oh, I guess maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm going back to basics.
Yeah.
But no, I want like a place where like my house is kind of like on a separate level
Yeah.
that feels like completely detached from, but is also, if at any stage I want to pop down to whatever's going on, like instead of like going, hey, will I watch something on TV tonight? I could also just like roll down to whatever's on in the
You
theatre
performed
space
at
downstairs.
the Brunswick Picture House. That's essentially what that is.
Yeah, and there's one in Bendigo or Ballarat, one of the kind of regional Victorian towns I played in, where the Airbnb is literally basically the backstage of the, and
It's very cool.
I like it.
Yeah, I like that
because
too.
then I don't even need a car. I'm already where I need to be, and then I can just go on holidays or otherwise be in the best place ever, this theatre house that I live in.
I mean, you sort of look at celebrities like Nick Cage and Johnny Depp, who at the peak of their careers, Johnny Depp was drinking $30,000 bottles of wine a day. Nicolas Cage is buying like dinosaur skulls and stuff. So there is clearly a point of wealth or privilege that you get to where it's like, what can I spend my money on?
Yeah.
I'm just nothing's.
If only there were a whole bunch of like homeless, starving people.
I need to drink $30,000 bottle of Blanc. That's gross.
Yeah.
Will, that
right.
comedian Josh Johnson?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, he's
Yes,
great.
Josh Johnson.
Yeah, he plays.
Yes.
He's so prolific. He
Yeah.
puts up a new 40 minutes every
He's
week.
writing so much stuff, and a lot of it's really
But
fantastic.
it's all really topical. Like
But,
it's every
yes.
week on YouTube. He's got
And that's what I mean. Like
yeah.
the idea that like you can now, we live in a world in which if you want to just like make something, if you had your own space, if you had your own theater, I mean, he doesn't have it. Like,
Yeah.
you can
just
do
do
it
that.
in another way.
Yeah.
But I think there are so many creative possibilities. to
My
that.
understanding of Kendrick versus Drake is primarily through Josh Johnson because he's done so many bits on like the history of that feud or beef, we should say in hip hop parlance.
Did you see that? Like Drake's record company were just like, dude, you started.
From the bottom, now you're here.
Firstly, we believe
Yeah.
that you started from the bottom. Now you're here. Secondly, you started this
Yeah.
and you lost.
Mm.
Like, stop. Okay. Finish the sentence. Just by looking at you, I'd think. Just by looking at you, I'd think.
Just by looking at you, I'd think. I mean, that's a hard. What does that mean? Just by looking at you.
Yeah,
Okay.
just
I'm
by
gonna be
looking.
like,
So you don't know me. You've just looked at me.
Okay.
Just by looking at you, I'd think.
you're homeless. That's just because you dress in very comfortable clothes. And it's like, I mean, if you're going to sleep rough, I guess that's probably, what you'd kind of want to wear.
I
Like
was homeless.
I guess so, yeah.
For 14 months.
I don't know. That's fair. I think just
No.
by looking at you, I'd think. I don't know. Just by looking at you, I'd think you have this odd mix. What the clothes you wear now intrigues me because you have kind of like it's like athletic wear, but clearly someone who's not sweating. So, like it's like you got your Jordan cap,
Yeah.
you got your sleeveless hoodie. Like
Yeah.
this is what you'd see like a young bro down in the basketball courts
Yeah.
wearing, but you're not doing that. So when I look at you, I think, what's going on? That's what I'm thinking.
It's just the streets, man.
Yeah.
I think that leisure wear is has become more widely accepted as a way to dress.
Everyone relax wear coming soon.
Exactly. The little combination that I have is my one hat. So it had been a yearly tradition of mine, Charlie, that I would, much like you and your renewing of your wardrobe every 3 years, I've fallen into a pattern over the last few years of one hat per year.
Right. Oh, really?
Yes.
That's why it's the same hat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is the same hat, like for a year. And then at the Adelaide Fringe, I normally get myself a new hat, and then that becomes my hat for the next year. But this,
By the way, we just busted Mike.
Sorry.
We just busted Mike.
We've got to move the biscuit.
Hoeing into like he thought he was safe, that we were deep in conversation. We both looked over at the same time. We like an instinct kicked in, and he's hoeing in to the chocolate covered Scotch fingers from 2 episodes ago, which he admitted was his kryptonite.
I'm moving the biscuits.
and I also, just for people who were listening, when we did crack that pack, and Mike revealed that he is not a snapper of the Scotch fingers, we just saw evidence of that because there was no
separation.
no
between the
separation
fingers.
at all. Oh well, there you go.
Anyway,
So this year in Adelaide, I did not get a new hat. So technically, we are into month 14 or something of this hat in its cycle.
yeah, it's holding its shape.
I feel
really
like
well.
it might have another year in it, so I'm wondering if I can. But it does mean yes.
Well, you know what? Like back to the splurge question, I
Yeah.
do love hats. I have lots of hats, and
Uh-huh.
I like different styles of hats. I like having sort of sports themed hats. I look quite good in a hat,
Yeah.
so I do wear a lot of hats. I don't know if it's splurging, but I do collect hats. I've more
And
hats
if you
than I
had an
need.
unlimited budget,
Yeah, then
you could
I'd have
become
heaps
like
that I
on
don't even wear.
MTV's Cribs. They used to have like people with like. I actually quite
a
like.
yeah,
I like a fancy sneaker.
sneaker pimp.
I would never be one of those people who wouldn't wear them.
Yeah.
But the idea of having like a whole cupboard full, I've got like 7 or 8 pairs of like
Yeah,
sneakers.
That's
So
the same.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
All right.
all right. What character would I play in a movie? And what character would you play in a movie? So we've kind of talked.
I think
about
we've done this
but
before.
let's do this as like updated.
Yeah, I mean, I think you would play kind of like intellectual, like you're either. I don't think you'd be playing a bad guy, but you might be playing.
Could I be a bad guy?
Yes, you could be. You could be like condescending, snooty kind of guy who's like the professor who,
Oh, yeah.
who thinks the kid from the wrong side of the tracks doesn't belong in this college.
Oh yeah, okay, good.
But I also could see you as the professor's trying to say, we've got to do something. The meteor is heading to Earth. We don't have much time. And like, get out of here, egghead.
You don't understand. We've got to do something. The meteor is heading towards Earth.
Get out of here, egghead.
Oh yeah, that felt natural.
Yeah, I could see you as that. But also like, because you're a comedian. So then there's also like, I could see you as in a Rhys Ifans type role.
Like Notting Hill style.
Yeah, so you got the handsome romantic
Yeah.
lead, and you're his funny best friend, like in a Richard Curtis type
He's
film.
really gross off-putting. He's
He
disgusting.
wears athletic wear, even though I've never seen him exercise. He's wearing the
You'd
same
be-
hat for
you'd be
18
the
months.
joke.
Yeah.
You'd be the awful joke that we all look at and pity next to the handsome lead.
No, I don't necessarily mean you'd be the
Yes.
joke, but I think you would be the funny offsider, because that's kind of like the dynamic of this thing is I'm the straight man more often than not, and you would make the funny quips. So I could see that being an easy role you could slip into. Or if I was going to really do like inventive casting, we go super indie, you are the lead, but we make it more of a kind of lean into like 8 Mile, lean into some semi-autobiographical stuff. You're this comic, very successful comic, but what's the darkness that lies within? What is, he makes others laugh, but what's happening on the inside of this clown? Why is he crying? That we do that. So because that way we can play it. Because I think you do have two very distinct front-facing personas, which is your this persona and your onstage persona and your Gruen persona, which most people know, and then you have your quite sort of like introverted, socially awkward like persona, which I think if I was making that indie film, it's like, oh, let's get into the psychology of a comedian. That I could see that if I was to write the script, I would write something tailored specifically to you. I'd say, hey, look, I want to make this as autobiographical as possible. So if you are willing to share some stuff with me, like maybe like we find out like was there's stuff that led some dark stuff that led to this career? Is there some stuff that you regret? Are you hiding something how much of this is real? How much of this is facade? But that would be more of I don't think that's like a necessarily I'd cast you as this. You'd be playing yourself, but we would just, like a wrestler, we would exaggerate parts of your real personality. We'd exaggerate your on-stage persona and we'd exaggerate your off-stage persona.
What if we did all that, but we based it all on Adam Hills's life?
Adam Hills, Alive, starring Wil Anderson.
Finally,
Yeah.
Wil Anderson is Adam Hills. We knew it. I would love to see you as the, and look, it is a little bit straight man with comedians again, but I feel like if they wanted to do a reboot of the of the Hangover movies.
Oh yeah,
And they need you sort of Bradley Cooper style. Was
Straight
Bradley
man.
Cooper
Yeah,
the
yeah.
straight man in that? Yeah,
Yeah.
he is, isn't he? I reckon you could be a very good put upon. Things are falling apart. Why is everyone sort of like
crazy. Everyone
yeah.
around me is insane.
Yes. Yeah, I think you would be very good at that.
Well, yeah, I
something
guess
like
because
that.
I am comedy adjacent.
Yes.
Like most of my friends are comedians.
Yeah.
And I feel
Yeah.
like sometimes I'm hanging out with a bunch of crazy people.
Yeah.
And I'm the only sane one.
Yeah, I think you could very
I easily pull that
yeah.
off. Yeah,
I feel like it's been 20 years in the making.
yeah,
this
totally
role.
research.
He goes, oh, you're like, I haven't started. They're like, oh, no, you've got the part.
Yeah.
Just your energy you brought into the room.
All right, next question. Should I read one?
Yeah, of course,
All right.
yeah.
Okay.
We can go to number two as
okay,
well.
So that's all
but
level
but
one.
I think number two, they just change a bit. So we just need to see what happens. But we can freestyle it.
Okay, this is level two.
Yeah, level two. Let's level two it up. What does it say?
Do you think the image you have of yourself matches the image people see you as?
Oh, yeah. No.
How do you? Well, firstly, how do you think people
Don't
perceive
know.
you?
That's the tricky bit, right?
But you must
Do
have.
you-
If you had to speculate, how do you think people perceive you?
Well, I think maybe differently from, like, depending on where they know me from. I think that if people know me from Gruen, they might like perceive me to be a different person to people who know me from this podcast.
I do
for example.
remember, and I won't say who it was. I'll tell you off air. But there was a friend of mine that was about to meet you, and he was feeling very nervous. And I said, "Why?" And he's like, "I'm worried he's going to make fun of me." And I was like, "Why would he make fun of you?" And he's like, "Oh, because that's what he does." And I'm like, "Well, no, that's not just what he does." And he's like, "Oh, no, but I've seen him and he's very sharp and very quick, and I'm scared I'll say something stupid and he'll be right on it." I'm like, "You'll be fine. Like, we're going to a barbecue. He's not going to jump on your back or anything like that." But I think that might be a way people perceive you, is that you're quippy, you're quick, you're fast, and you're smart. And so it's like, oh, I better not say anything. I better be on either say nothing or be on my best behavior.
Yeah, I mean, I think the funny thing is that to a friend of mine, I might well be, but I wouldn't be to a stranger.
No, you make fun of me all the time.
Yes.
Constantly.
Yeah, to my friends,
Yeah.
to people I feel comfortable making, and that's one of the things I love about comedians as well, is we all make fun of each other all the time, and I like that. That feels a very natural and self-effacing, and a pick, the prick in the balloon of a job that is front-facing in people liking what you do or approval. I like that, the fact that it is undercut and that you can show your mates that you love them by
I think that's
making
most
fun of
friendships,
them,
right?
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't do that to a stranger, hopefully.
But I think that there'd be this idea
But I do
that
think
because
the perception.
you do it professionally, that it's like,
And occasionally when I do an advertising function or something that is advertising, like, related, they are very nervous about that because
Right.
they have seen me on Gruen be particularly,
Scathing.
to their work and everybody who works in their industry. And of course, that is actually true. I am scathing about those things on that show, but only within that show. It's not like when I am doing this thing for them in their environment, I'm going to be like that. But I do think that there is that perception. I think the other one is, I think the perception I feel like people would get wrong about me is, and I only know this one from when people would in the past go, "Oh, I came and saw your show," or whatever. I think we get along really well. We could go and have lunch. We could talk about all those things. I'm like, I just actually don't think
you would like
what
that.
you
Yeah.
what you have in your head about what that would be like is, I don't think what that would be like.
Yeah.
I don't think my friends would think that having lunch with me is like that. What about you though? What's the
Oh, yeah, it's a good, interesting
I'm
question
more-
because you
yeah.
don't really know.
what
I mean,
people think of
I'll
you,
go off.
right?
I'll just go off Everyone Relax or
Yes.
TOFOP. Like
Yeah.
my interactions with people, especially doing the live stream. Now that I've been doing.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's actually so. To tell people about the live stream.
Yeah,
For those
so
who don't know.
I try and do it as regularly as possible. I can't do it every Friday, but I try and do a live stream on Friday, which is basically a one-sided episode of TOFOP where I get on and I just talk, but there's a chat, and so people can ask questions and interact with each other. It's really great. We're sort of fostering this little community. A lot of the same people come back, and what I have noted from it is it's that parasocial relationship. Is like people. It's quite one-sided. People know a lot about me, but I often, clearly don't know a lot about the people who are commenting or asking questions or whatever. And then when I've met people in public, there is this sense that, because I try and be as honest on this show and kind of as accessible and myself as possible, that when they see me, that they're going to have access to all that. But of course there's stuff I hold back. And of course there's stuff that I don't share. And there's obviously sides to me that like I feel embarrassed about or nervous about or don't want to share with people. So I'm not as open a book as people think. And I also think there's this perception that that I'm kind of neurotic and full of anxiety,
Oh yeah.
which is true, but
Yeah.
I don't think I'm any more neurotic and anxious than anyone else. It's just that I choose this forum to explore those things.
That's true. Yes, absolutely. Because the evidence that people get is this idea that, because you're bringing those
Yes.
examples to the table
It's not like I'm living my day.
at that pace or level of anxiety
Yes.
at all times. If you were, you would be burnt out completely by the experience.
I mean, generally what I've learned over 15 years of doing this show is I have to save those conversations for this show because I can't share those conversations or observations. Like I have a little notes folder on my phone where I have a thought. I'm like, is that a TOFOP thought? And then if I think about it, I'm like, yeah, that's a conversation I can have with Will and our audience because I think they understand it. But I'm not going around every day coming up with hypotheticals, or occasionally I will, but will quickly discover when I try and take our conversations into the wild that don't have a receptive audience.
Yeah, I think, look, and we know this won't happen, but if through some freak of nature I manage to outlive you, it won't happen. But
It
but
probably
if it
will.
But if it did happen,
Yeah.
let's just say, I think that I would have to do a separate pop-up funeral. Because they'll be in the regular church service.
Yeah,
So they'll be like,
the respectful one.
Charlie enjoyed blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah, and then I'd have to do another one where it was like, so what Charlie really enjoyed.
I think so. There's definitely it's that everyone has masks that you wear for different things,
Of course.
and different scenarios. But I was thinking a lot about being a father. In fact, Mike and I were just when we were having a little bite to eat before, we're talking about parenthood, and I was saying that the one thing that I'm most amazed about watching a child grow up is you are sort of seeing them experience things for the first time, and often I I get so in my own head, or I get so kind of like convinced that the world is the way it is and it's unchanging, that you forget there is a chance to model and change things. Not for you, your time is done, but for others, and to kind of like, for instance, I need to. I've realized I have to adjust my behavior because I'm modeling it for my child. So if I'm flying off the handle over something that is not that important, I burn my hand cooking dinner, I swear and scream and kick the door and whatever. That's not good. That's not a good model for a child to go. That's how you deal with an incident like that. And Gemma's been really good at sort of reminding me about that, because I'm just modeling the behavior that I saw with my father. My dad would fly off the handle, he'd get angry, frustrated, anxious. It was different for our parents. I'm not blaming him. It was just what I grew up with. So I kind of really have to make a conscious decision of, like, I see this little brain developing and all these little kind of like absorptions are happening here and there. And so on one hand, I'm like teaching her how to read or how to ride a bike, but I'm also teaching her how to deal with her emotions. And kids have no frontal lobe. They respond to something in a completely instinctive way, which can be so unreasonable and seem so unfair and even like mean sometimes.
You know who does that too?
What?
Adults.
Yes.
Like we all like that's the other thing. I understand exactly what you're saying about the idea that you're modeling that, but also it's the same with the internet, right? Or phones or whatever it might be, where we go, and for kids it's so important that we give them good information or good input or etc. without almost
Considering
extrapolating
that,
that,
yeah.
also for us,
Us.
maybe that would also be good, because we're struggling with concentration and we're struggling with extreme opinions and we're struggling with like these unexpected side effects of this explosion in new technology that we're dealing, and all of these things, like the way that you're treating what should be like put into your child, like we shouldn't just stop having that conversation at your child.
Yeah, it's not too late.
No.
Not too late. Okay, is this level 2 still?
Oh yeah, go to level 2 still. Yeah,
so-
that's
alright,
that's a
okay.
2 still.
Put that one back.
Yep.
Well, this is wild card.
Oh, I don't know if the
No,
wild
we have
card
to.
will work for
That
us.
seems we need to draw something. You
Here we
just
go.
read it. Yeah.
Is there a feeling you miss? Is there a feeling you miss? Oh, that's good.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like, I think Gemma and I were talking about this. We arrived in Sydney a couple of days ago. We were driving around with Iona, and we were showing her like all, when we used to live here, we shot a music video down here. We used to live here, and then we just were sort of like reminiscing about, there was a time pre-children, pre-mortgage, where it was a very kind of exciting time, because you sort of were like anything seemed possible, and there was nothing really holding us down, like no financial burden, no family responsibilities or whatever. And I do kind of miss that. It's the potential, that feeling of like, wow, like anything could happen.
Anything, and that anything is possible.
Anything is
Because
possible.
I think if I was going to add to your answer to like give my own, which is, I do go back to that idea of like, I think as you get older, one of the things that like you realize is time is the biggest one of all, right? Like, because at the start you can do anything. Of course you can't. Like, of course it is dependent on what your lottery ticket in life is and what situation you're born into and a whole bunch of other circumstances. But in a general sense, if we're just going to completely be general about it, like you can do anything.
Yeah.
And the older you get, you have to kind of start ruling things out, or things start ruling themselves out. And the list of possibilities of anything become fewer and fewer and fewer and narrower and narrower. And your time to do anything, suddenly all the things that you could have done, you have to start picking some of those things at the very least. And so, yes, that idea that power of just anything being possible, that it was all still in front of you. I do miss that feeling for sure.
And it's also too that there was an era in which I think it happens to most people in their 20s, where you sort of break from your family and you find your new family. Like when they did that big Friends reunion, the producer was saying, like, we wanted to create a show about that time in your life where your friends become more important than your family. And there was like, I sort of think about when I first moved to Sydney and met you, and we had that gang, and
Well, and we were so invested in those friendships. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, we saw each other every
Every day,
weekend
yeah.
and often, during the week.
yeah,
And it was
have
like,
dinner together, hang out together,
Right.
like, and we were, and and you do sort of like romanticize it because I'm sure there was a lot of shit that was going on back then, but there is that sort of feeling. I guess it's sort of maturation or sort of coming into yourself and finding out who you are and what your tribe is, for lack of a better word. I do sort of miss that, but then at the same time, I quite like there's some stuff that I don't miss at all about that, and it's all to do with my personal development, and I feel like a lot more secure in who I am now and what my priorities are. I don't have quite as rigid a code as you, Batman. I don't think, but I do feel like I'm much more in my like I feel much more comfortable in my own skin now than I did 20 years ago.
well, I think one of the real signs of maturity is that I didn't stop that lovely thing that you were saying to laugh at you saying coming into myself. So I think that's how much we've grown in the time we've been doing this show. How much time do we
Let's
have?
do one
Are we-
more,
we
and
got
then
time for
we'll
one
and then
more,
we'll
and then
crack
we'll
that
crack?
sack today.
Okay.
We're cracking a sack,
right.
not a pack.
All
Is that right, Mike? Yes.
We got a sack.
Are you
not a
wiping
pack.
crumbs out of your mouth again?
Okay. All right. Okay. Hang on. What's the best compliment a stranger has ever given you?
I mean, fuck.
What's the best compliment a stranger has ever
best
given? That might be
compliment.
too hard, actually.
Yeah,
I think
I
that's
need
too hard.
time to think about it.
Okay. Hang on. This is that was just a reminder. We don't want a reminder. If you have, when was the moment you realized you weren't invincible? Oh,
I don't think I've ever felt invincible.
never.
No,
Not even as a kid.
No, I mean, my childhood was filled with like
Yeah,
fucking trauma and loss
bad
and
stuff,
pain and
yeah.
stuff. So I don't think
So there was never a moment, because by the time it got to you two in your family,
Yeah,
like, there was too much reality
yeah.
around you.
Well, you know what? It's not a feeling of invincibility, but there was a sense, because I grew up feeling like under a cloud that my family was cursed and that I was cursed and that bad stuff kept happening. And then and my family sort of, there's a lot of humility in my family, and it's the Catholic thing as well. And they carry themselves with this real sense of kind of like, I felt there was a burden. And then I sort of it's part of that sort of, reaching your 20s. I do remember realizing like, oh, hang on. Like, I can rewrite the script here. I don't have to accept. For a long time, I thought, well, like just the way shit is, and you're never going to get what you want, and you just sort of have to accept what you're given. And then I got to a point where I was like, because the career that I chose to get into and the work that I chose to do, there was no template for that. Like, no one in my family had done that. I don't come from a family of performers or anything like that. I didn't even go to drama school. I just made it happen. I just said, I'll just keep doing this until someone pays me to do it. And even when
But that's the greatest school of all, because you acted your way into acting.
acted my way into acting,
You acted like an actor,
But
and then became an actor.
I think that's what happened is when I first got on a TV show, having not gone to drama school, and I remember like being on my first time on set was the most fucking terrifying experience.
Because you
I
didn't
had
know
no
what
idea
any
what's
of
going
the-
on.
Yeah.
Stand on your mark. What's a mark?
Yeah.
All right, we're just going to go for one
Who's
take. We're going to
Mark?
loop around and go for a second
What?
take. What does that mean?
Yeah,
Like,
just-
what am I doing? I have
Yeah.
no. It was also alien. And then when I survived that experience and then got my next job, I'm like, oh, I think I'm doing something right. And that's when I started thinking, oh, okay. I always thought that I was going to be an also-ran, that my life was going to suck, that, there's winners in life and there's losers, and you unfortunately fall into the loser category. And you just realize that's not true. There's no winners and losers in anything. It's all just like different degrees of life is up and down. Like, it doesn't travel in a straight line. It's just like it moves in a wave. And so it wasn't about being invincible, but it was being less of a loser. I think is
Wow.
the best I can get to.
Thanks for coming to speak at our graduation, Charlie. We appreciate
Remember, kids, you don't have to accept being a loser. You can be less of a loser.
Well, look, we couldn't afford Tim Minchin. So that's Charlie Clausen, everyone.
My keynote address.
Some inspiring words.
NIDA.
I didn't go to acting school. Why have we got this guy to do?
You ever feel invincible?
I mean, I think that
On stage, right? Like if you've played a fucking, 2,000 seat theater and everyone's clapping and cheering, that must be quite a high.
I actually think that I've never felt particularly invincible on stage until like I really have like I mean this might be self-serving because of the fact that I'm doing these improvised shows and I've been doing a bunch of those, but I think people's worst nightmare about comedy is always that you just be in the middle of the show and something could go wrong and you can't get your way out of it, right? And I've had shows that have been derailed by it being going fine or it not going well and me not being able to fix it or whatever. Whereas having done these improv shows, you're like, you could just get to face every scenario in such a way that gives you confidence that if next time something comes up in my regular show, I've just got better skills so you feel a little bit more invincible. But the problem with those shows is the minute you feel invincible, something is going to come along to
Right. So never feel invincible.
So don't feel invincible.
That's the lesson.
That is my lesson. And yes, it's weird that you got both of us to speak at your graduation, but there are two takeaway messages.
All right. Oh, great. Love it. An outro.
Time to play the game.
Time to stop playing the game.
That was good though.
Yeah.
I thought that was good.
That should be a semi-regular
Yeah.
segment. Let's do that
Well,
again.
we've got lots of cards left, so
Okay,
that
great.
was good. I thought that was like we got some interesting answers.
All right. Well, Mike, if you've got that other sting ready,
Okay.
it's time for what?
Ooh,
What's that?
what's going on?
What's going on, Mike?
What-
Help, Mike!
Mike,
My brain's about to
Mike,
explode.
are you-
There we go.
Crack that
Sack.
sack.
Because today
Crack that sack.
I have brought in a bag.
A sack.
Well, it's been a while since we've gone to a bespoke biscuitarium.
Yeah.
Biscuitech. What do
Now,
you call a?
Biscuitech. Oh, that's actually pretty
Really
good.
good, right?
Has anybody ever
Come
they
up with
must
Biscuitech?
have.
We
Little-
should do that.
That's
Biscuitech.
maybe
Oh
that's
my
the
God,
spin-off
that's the
business.
fucking that we make.
That's
a
our
fortune.
sushi mango
We've been
restaurant.
incre-
Our Biscuitech.
Yes, the Biscuitech.
Yes, we.
Mike, Google it. Is it copywritten?
Yeah, let's find
Otherwise, get the
Bis-
website. Get
yeah,
biscuitech.co, biscuitech.com, biscuitech.com.au.
because biscuits are in.
Yeah.
We've been doing biscuit stuff, but also records are in the shape of biscuits. So we
Yes.
do like a kind of themed record bar
Yes.
/ biscotheque.
Yeah, limited edition prints of TOFOP episodes on
Yeah.
biscuit printed vinyl.
Yeah.
You can wear everyone relax wear into the store. Oh my God, we should open them. Yeah, because retail's not dying, is it? We should definitely invest. We'll
A
pay
shop front.
Sydney rent
That's right.
to sell.
We're going to
everyone
get some
relax
space
wear.
on the high street.
Yeah. Okay, so this was a recommender. I'm staying in Potts Point at the moment, and this was a recommendation by locals. It's called Grumpy Baker. You
Yeah,
ever been there?
I
Grumpy
have.
Baker?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like you're not a fan. Okay. They didn't have a wide biscuit selection.
Okay.
I should have specified that I was looking for biscuits. I said bakery, assuming there'd be
Alright.
quite a wide section. But this is one of my
Oh,
favorite
okay.
type of biscuit,
I
which
like
is
the look of it.
it's macadamia, white chocolate, and cranberry.
Okay.
So it's quite an ugly looking biscuit. You can hold it up to the camera, Will, show people on Patreon. That's what it looks like. So it's not the prettiest looking biscuit, but it's got that good bespoke feel. Little chunks of macadamia, quite big cranberries. It wasn't, and very brown around the edges. So I think it's going to be a crunchy outer shell and then a softer interior. Will and I are sharing this cookie, much like Jesus broke bread with his disciples. Will and I have broken a biscuit with each other, or a cookie, if that's the way you like them described. Will, I can't really unreadable. I look at him and I don't know what to think.
I like it.
Okay.
I think it's pretty good, actually. I've only had one little bite. I didn't get a lot of cranberry in my little bite, but there is lots of cranberry in it. I just, in the little bit that I just had then, didn't get any cranberry, so I'm going to have a second bite in a second to experience some of that. But yeah, the crispy on the outside, really well cooked on the outside, like, nice crispy, but it doesn't taste mass produced. Like, even if it is, it doesn't taste
small
like that.
batch. A small batch.
I think it's a tiny batch.
Mm.
And like that cookie would be, that's enough for two, like, because it is, very flavorful, soft in the middle.
Disciplined use of white chocolate. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, I definitely didn't get overwhelmed by the white chocolate,
No.
but it'd be nice heated up. Like if you got
Yes.
it warm, I think it would have been a very. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I like the texture's great. very crunchy on the outside, soft. I think there's been an odd disbursement of ingredients because you got no cranberries, whereas I got too many cranberries. But that's just a mixing issue. I think that's a good biscuit. I'd be very happy with that, and it tastes special. It doesn't, like you say, it tastes small batch, bespoke.
The cranberries are good.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, what you said, it is a weird disbursement. It adds to the artisanal
Surprise.
vibe of it, right?
That's
Do you know what I mean?
right,
It does
yeah.
feel like very homemade for the fact that all the cranberries are in one bit of it and then none in the. But
they only had two
good balance of flavour.
They only had 2 cookies on offer, which was that and the chocolate chip. And I feel like we've been chocolate heavy. And next episode we're going to be more chocolate again. No, I really like that. I think that's a good cookie. I'm quite happy to give that a B plus. I still think the oat and raisin from that cookie factory is that what it's called in Melbourne? Cookie store.
The South Melbourne Markets cookie place.
Yeah, that's still by far and away of all the bespoke.
Definitely. But I've got to say, I'm going to give this an A minus.
Oh shit!
Yep.
Okay,
I think this is very good.
B
Very
plus,
good.
B
I
plus
like
from
this a
me,
lot.
A minus. Yeah, that's really good. So congratulations, Grumpy Baker. Will hates everything else you do, but he.
Oh yeah, I got to say, I went into that with a little bit of negativity, but I've come out the other end like with a real solid A minus. Well done.
They're,
Yeah,
they're
well
more of a
done.
cake place, aren't they?
The Grumpy Baker. No, they're more
just
of a
a
bread.
It's like a coffee.
Bread place, right?
It's more bread
and,
place.
and Danishes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They had a few things in the window. I walked in thinking I was going to get more cookies.
Their croissants are not amazing, in my opinion.
I went to a cafe with my. I caught up with my family yesterday in Chippendale called Blacksmith. It's like do you know what? It's on. It's just near Prince Albert Pool. Which, let me tell you, when you go into the change rooms there, you're going to see some things you won't forget. No. But they had a really wide biscuit selection. I just didn't think. I was after I left. I was like, oh, I should have bought some biscuits. They had one there that maybe next time we're back in Sydney. It's a pistachio. It's a chunky cookie with a pistachio filling, like a ganache.
Is it with the puppy? So there's a.
It's like a volcano-looking cookie with a pistachio.
So this
filling.
pistachio thing, like something puppy, it's called. It's the new Biscoff.
Okay.
So you know how you've
Oh,
just got up
it's
with
like
Biscoff?
a cream.
Yeah, it's the new spread,
fluid, right?
and
okay.
it's like a
Fluid.
pistachio.
Immediately off-putting when you describe it like it's a fluid. Yeah, it's excreted onto your cookie.
You splurge it.
It seeps.
Just
it
do it.
seeps. It weeps into your cookie.
Do you want me to splurge some of this pistachio puppy on your cookie?
Take each bite with it.
What, Mike, did you manage to find what it was called? It's called like something pappy, I'm pretty sure. Maybe.
Ay,
see.
papi.
Can't
No?
see it, sorry.
No.
Okay.
All right.
But good news, biscotech.com.au and biscotech.net are both available.
Both
Okay,
are available.
Yeah, I'll grab those. I'll grab
Yeah.
those because I think there's something there. There's
Yeah.
something there. Everyone relax wear and Biscotech. I mean, who wouldn't want to go to a Biscotech, listen to some cool tunes with you, and buy some comfortable hoodies and shit?
We can sell disco biscuits.
Yeah, right. That's fucking great. Oh, this is brilliant. This is imagine if this show finally becomes a success because we open a retail store.
Sushi Mango have a restaurant,
Did
and
they?
it's a really successful restaurant. They're just expanding the restaurant.
They've 2 weeks ago, second
No.
floor.
So
sold
Sushi
out.
Mango, the podcast, is
Yes.
just
Yes.
PR for a restaurant.
Not
No,
just,
it's
it's a spin-off. They the podcast was so successful.
They said, let's make a
They
restaurant.
were like, we should do a restaurant, like this old school restaurant, like we remember. And
Do
it's
we
become
know-
so.
Do we know any bakers?
Do we know any bakers? Because that's what we need, don't
Like,
we?
because
We need
everyone
like
relax
a-
where we have
yeah.
definitely contacts within
The fashion
industry,
industry.
but I don't know if we do. We
No, a
know any-
baker.
We must know someone who's good at it.
There's a the best baker in the world is out in Australia at the moment.
Okay, who's that?
He's like some.
Oscar Baker for the Western Bulldogs.
He's Simon Baker.
Yeah,
Simon
like
Baker
a
Denny.
Whatever happened to the Denny? Did we just all agree that? Yeah, you're not Simon Baker Denny anymore.
I think that wasn't he because he took his Denny his wife's.
No, Rebecca Rigg. Is
Oh
his
yeah,
wife.
no. So what was Denny's mum's name maybe
Yeah.
or something, and so. But he wasn't. He
It
was
sounds
Simon Baker, and then he for a while was like, "No, it's Simon Baker Denny."
Oh, did he go back to Denny?
I think so, didn't he?
Maybe
or
he had a
maybe
deal
I'm,
with
I don't
Denny's, the restaurant
We're over
chain.
time. Should we save this for the next step?
Okay, subtle, Mike. Hey, thank you everyone for listening. Remember, if you want to listen to ad-free episodes, you love the show, but you're like, you know what, I'd like to just hear a bit less advertising. We still need to make some money to keep the show going.
Oh,
Best
yeah.
way to support us is Patreon. Patreon.com/everyonerelax. Ad-free episodes, full videos. The episodes go up early on Patreon, so if you're busting
gosh.
to get your fill of Two Guys, One Cup or TOFOP
Busted
or
makes me
philosophy,
feel good.
they go up the day before, so you'll be first in, best dressed. And also, there's just like years and years worth of great content. All of James Fosdyke's artwork up there. His comic strips. Did you know that? James Fosdyke turned some of your favourite TOFOP bits into comic strips.
And they're incredible.
They're great.
Like all his stuff is incredible.
Mm.
I'm doing a comedy tour. You can find the details of that at comedy.com.au.
All right. That's TOFOP for this week. Mike's telling us to get the fuck
Yeah.
out of the studio.
All right.
I'm Charlie Clausen.
Oh, well, that's...
How long? Not long. Everyone relax.